Come in, sir.
Yeah, please come.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
Ishita, is it?
Yes, sir.
Ishita, your father was assistant sub-inspector?
Yes, sir.
Where? Which?
Sir, Delhi Police in the 7th Battalion,
Okay.
near the PM House.
Oh, that's a sensitive location.
Yes.
Did you take any interest in his work?
Sir, I usually interact with him, asking about the work culture in the police department.
And how many years did you speak to him about his work?
Sir, I started taking interest after class 10th when I
Right.
decided that I would be joining civil services.
Right,
So then I started asking him about his work.
right. Did you ask him the difference between the police working in a police commissionerate system, which is Delhi, and a non-commissionerate system, which is most of the states?
Sir, I'm familiar with it. In the commissionerate system,
Yeah.
the
Did you
entire...
ask him about how he felt?
No,
What was
sir,
his view?
I did not ask him.
He must have worked under both systems.
Sorry, sir, I'll ask him
Okay.
when I go back
All
home.
right. Quite often opinion is still divided on that issue. You've
Yes,
done
sir.
eco, is it?
Yes, sir.
And that too from very good institutes.
Yes,
And you're postgraduate also in economics.
yes, sir.
The Ukraine effect on Indian economy, what would you say is the most serious economic impact?
Yes, sir. Sir, economic impact is largely indirect in terms of increase in the fuel and the crude oil prices.
Okay.
Along with that, there would be a significant dip in the palladium industries raw material,
Right.
which is coming mostly from Ukraine.
Okay. On the political front?
So New Delhi is walking a tightrope. They are playing a balancing act because we have good relation both with Russia as well as United States. So we want to remain neutral in our stand in terms of Russia-Ukraine crisis.
And what has happened to North Atlantic Treaty Organization as a result of this conflict?
Yes, sir. So
Foreign
Ukraine.
service is your second preference, isn't it?
Sorry, sir.
Foreign service or
Yes, sir.
police is your second preference?
So foreign services.
Foreign service.
Yes, sir. So Ukraine has said that they would not be joining NATO, thus alleviating
no, what
the
did it
major.
do to NATO as NATO, not NATO with the Ukraine? What has been the impact on NATO
Yes, sir.
of the Ukraine conflict?
Sir, I think NATO would not be extending in the Eastern Europe. So they will be honoring the agreement that they have made in the 1990s with Russia.
Why do you feel that the Western side has not put boots on the ground in Ukraine? You know the meaning of boots on the ground?
Yes, sir.
So why have they not done that?
Sir, I think in the foreign policy, everyone is conducting themselves in terms of their national interest. So it was not in the national interest of the West to put boots on ground.
Okay, let's come back to India, domestic issues. Since you've done economics, list out 3 of the most major problems that India is facing.
Yes, sir.
List them in order of priority, whatever you consider the most important, give that first.
Yes, sir. So the first priority is get back growth to the pre-pandemic level and then achieve our target of $5 trillion economy. Second would be the problem of unemployment as well as the disguised unemployment that we are facing. And so third would be a push of the manufacturing sector in order to achieve both our targets of growth as well as unemployment.
What about poverty alleviation?
Yes, sir.
Have you subsumed it under disguised unemployment, or do you treat it as a separate factor?
Sir, I think poverty is both a social as well as the economic priority of the Indian government as well as the Indian economy. It is the first sustainable development goal that we have to achieve by
Right.
2030.
Okay. Now, the rest of the board will interact with you. Okay? Sadish.
Ishita, you did your graduation from LSR
Yes, sir.
and then you moved to Chennai. Why is it so? You did not get admission in Delhi University? So
So
was it
Madras, Madras School of Economics is a premier institute. It is recognized both in the industry as well as the academic circle. It has also got the status of special importance by Government of Tamil Nadu. Sir, I looked at the course structure and I found it very interesting. The choice of elective was very interesting there. So besides that, I thought it would be a great opportunity to live in one of the southern states and experience their culture and tradition.
Oh, fine. Ishita, your father is a sub-inspector, and in the preference of the job, you mentioned IAS first, then IFS second, and IPS third.
Yes, sir.
Why is it so? Means since your father is there, of changing the challenge, the police system which this country faces.
Yes, sir.
So why is it so your preference?
Sir, I think because of my background as an economics student, I think I would be able to put my skills better at work in the administration services. And secondly, sir, my interest and passion is in mentoring and guiding and interacting with the youth. I
Okay.
think in the administration, I will get more opportunity to interact with people at the grassroots level. Therefore,
Ishita, last week I was reading an article, and one of the article which has mentioned that IAS has failed the nation. You're trying for the job, means the best brain in India, they like to become an IAS officer, but the article explains logically that IAS has failed. Do you agree with this statement? IAS has failed this nation. 70.
Sir, I think the growth and development path this nation has taken since 1950s or since independence has been tremendous. We have had major achievements, and administration is the backbone of everything that we are experiencing or the development we are experiencing. We are today the third largest economy in terms of PPP terms. In economy wise, and we are also being recognized as major player in the international sphere as
I'm
well.
talking about this job. Means I'm talking about there has been a certain argument and allegations that it is an elitist job. It does not mix up with the people, and that is why the development of the nation is somehow is being restricted. So if you
Yes,
have to
sir.
give an advice, and if there is a fundamental changes are required, the Prime Minister also last year has hinted about it.
Yes,
So
sir.
do you think that something needs to be done to make it more people oriented?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think definitely there is scope of improvement, and I think we are taking steps in that direction. For example, the Karam Yogi mission, Karam Yogi, that was recently unveiled, was to make the administration and civil services more people oriented. I think if implemented in that manner, in a better manner, the issues will be resolved. And secondly, sir, I feel more and more young people are coming in the administrative services, and they are people oriented. I've seen many of the IAS, they are in the Instagram as well as on the social media. They are interacting with people. They are doing the field visits. So I think that the situation is changing on the ground.
Ishita, since you are a student of economics, and we talked a lot about Make in India. But do you think that Make in India is possible without making China?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think our economic dependence on China is there in terms of the basic raw material as well as the investment that we are getting from China, and the growth of India that we have seen in the past few years. That is also because of rising China. So we are not anti-China, rather we want to grow together. We want to ensure that there is rule of law, respect for each other's sensitivities, and we want to realize the dream of Asian dream that we are looking at in the 21st
But
century.
certain companies, Chinese companies, been blocked, and the trade has gone down. Diplomatic ties are weakened. So the kind of political atmosphere which exists in India, that shows a different signal.
Yes, sir. Sir, it is because of the tense situation that we are experiencing at the LAC in Ladakh. So it is kind of a signal that we are sending to China. Moreover, the Atmanirbhar Bharat package that we have rolled out is primarily focusing on self-sufficiency.
Fine, Ishita.
Ishita, you are a student of economics.
Yes, sir.
What is this concept of circular economy?
So, circular economy is in contrast to the linear economy, which is primarily a consumption-based economy, like you
Okay.
consume and you dispose the material.
Okay.
But in circular economy, we are also keeping the environmental concerns into account, and we are reusing those material, recycling the material in order to improve the entire productivity, efficiency, along with the environmental concerns that we are looking at.
Now, in Delhi, any steps are being taken? You in your day-to-day life, have you seen something being done in this area?
Sir, I can see in my neighborhood also there are vendors which are coming and collecting your CPU, the old mobile phones. So this is one step in that direction. Next is the waste to energy plant that we want to set up. This will solve the problem of sewage as well as create power from the waste material that we are generating.
You have any idea how this e-waste is being recycled? What do they do with the e-waste?
Sorry, sir.
You don't have any. Okay. Now, how do the economy? What is this Human Development Index?
So, Human Development Index was constructed based on the recommendation of Pakistani economist Mehboob ul Haq, and it goes beyond the economic development and look at social indicators such as education attainment, the health status, as well as the living standard of the population. So, taking a holistic view of development, not just in terms of economic, but also social indicators as well.
There were some Indian economists also involved in this exercise.
Sir, I think Amartya Sen, Nobel laureate.
How was it calculated? Can you tell me the mechanics, the operation which is done?
Yes, sir.
What are the factors which go into it?
So one is the mean year of schooling.
Okay.
Under education, there are two sub-indices, the mean year of schooling and average years of schooling. In the health, sir, I'm not able to remember the sub-indices. And in the living standard, we look at gross national income per capita, and we take a geometric mean of these three indices and calculate HDI.
Very good. Under the corona effect, how has our GDP behaved? India's GDP.
Yes, sir.
2 years before, last year and this year.
Yes, sir. Sir, in 2020, we entered technical recession, like we experienced negative growth rate for 2 quarters. But then if we look at the annual data, the V-shaped recovery is being observed. However, in the recent economic survey, looking at the quarterly data, the government is saying that it is tilted W-shaped. And there are some economists which say that there is a K-shaped recovery, like certain section of population experiences increase in their wealth, whereas certain other are not experiencing that increase.
What is the outlook for this year? What is the GDP projection?
Sir, in the budget, the GDP projection was 9.2%. However, there would be revisions owing to the Russian-Ukraine crisis.
And how much is the fiscal deficit we are targeting?
So we are targeting 6.4%, and by 2024-25, we want to reduce it to 4.5%.
I see. What is this concept of fiscal responsibility? What is the target we have given there, and what is the institutional arrangement?
So the target that we have given is to achieve 3% of fiscal deficit and reduce the debt to GDP ratio to 60%, 40% for the center and 20% for the state.
But under this scenario, 6.3, how does it look?
So I think the earliest or realistic target that we can hope for is reaching 4.5% by 24-25. However, we should target to achieve the 3% fiscal deficit.
You studied in one of the very good colleges, IAS Ishita Rathi. How come for so many decades we are seeing the number of good colleges is the same? Why there are not been more good colleges coming up in Delhi?
Yes, sir.
What's the reason?
Sir, I think we need to give more autonomy to the institutions to decide their course structure and also link the domestic institution with foreign institution. The student exchange program, teacher exchange program, all of this will certainly help.
That's all right, but why the government have not been able to Lady Shri Ram, Miranda House, Stephens. We are only hearing of these names for last 50 years or
Yes,
so.
sir.
When many more good colleges should have come up and the students would have benefited. And now there's a very acute, very stiff competition for these admissions in these colleges.
Yes, sir.
If the government failed or the private sector failed or we failed, we couldn't visualize how our Indian youth is going to come up. Where has been the fault?
So the allocation of education in the total budget has been very low. We are aiming to increase it to 6%, and the major chunk would go to the higher education. And the government has also come with Institute of Eminence, which are targeting at creating more institutes that will compete at the global level. And I think the situation will increase.
Now the government has also come out with the central universities will have entrance test.
Yes, sir.
What are your views on that?
Sir, I think it's a welcome step.
Why?
It will lead. There are certain variation in the marks that are awarded by different boards, because of which certain students are at a disadvantage, and there has been continuous complaint for that. That
We
will
have
be improved.
CBSE throughout India, isn't it?
So there are other boards as well. Sir, I'm not able to remember their name, but there are other boards as like ICSE is there. And secondly, I think it will also help in. Sir, just give me a moment to.
Okay, take your time.
So it will also take off the pressure that is there in the 12th class examinations. We have seen that the cutoffs are increasing to 100% for some colleges, for some courses. That will be moderated, and we will be moving away from the rote learning issue that we
But
face.
now I agree. But too many entrance tests, students are under stress right from 12th class. For everything we have another entrance test.
Yes,
As if we have lost faith in our own systems of examination where we get certain percentage of marks. I appear for CBSE, again I have an entrance test. So anyway, but I think it creates a lot of stress on the young students. They are appearing all the time, isn't it?
So this test will also replace multiple tests that different universities are taking, like 45 central
Then
universities.
there's another, one state is objecting to a central NEET test.
Yes.
Which is that state and why are they objecting? For the medical admissions,
Yes,
college
sir.
admissions, we have one central test. They say no, we should have, where's the
Sir,
federalism?
I think this is one of the southern state. I'm not able to remember the name. The reason is that they think that the rural population that they have been given certain quota to, that will be at a disadvantage if this system is replaced.
All right. Anyway, coming to the police, since you got a police background, who's the commissioner of police in Delhi now?
Sir, Rajesh Asthana. Sir.
Yes, yes. Was there any controversy when he was appointed?
So there was one controversy, but I don't remember the exact details of that.
Okay. All right.
Ishita, in answer to one of the honorable members, you have been telling us that economics is going to help you in becoming a good IAS officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please elaborate that how?
Ma'am, I think the emerging field of behavioral economics provide us a lot of insights about how policy making can be done. The recent Nobel Prize winner Abhijit Banerjee have come out
What
with
is behavioral economics?
Ma'am, we are using certain incentives in order to mold the behavior of people in socially desirable direction without constraining their choices.
So as an economist, what will you like to recommend? The financial incentives or non-financial incentives in Indian scenario?
Ma'am, I think financial incentives will work more in the Indian scenario right now. For example, we have seen that giving financial incentive, the immunization rate had increased at the ground level. And also by giving certain financial incentive, people are using mosquito nets and those things, and giving these essential
Okay.
commodity.
You also said that the upcoming IAS officers or other bureaucrats, they are more people oriented, as you have seen on Instagram, etc., etc. So what was the approach of the bureaucracy in the past in India?
Ma'am, one of the approach is rule-based approach. Like we are focusing more on the rules and regulation, but now we are shifting to the role-based approach in order to achieve the objective without over-regulating the things. So the regulatory cholesterol which are hindering the development in certain sectors, we are reducing that. And there is also an argument of the elitist mannerism in the conduct of bureaucracy, like they don't interact with people on ground and they are living in ivory tower, not being aware of the realities of the ground. So
Okay,
these situations.
so you think that it is a fact or it is just a myth?
Ma'am, before the 1991 economic liberalization policy that we adopted, a lot of bureaucratic structure was very rule-based as well as elitist. However, after the
Okay, let me just give you a situation. This is my last question. Suppose you get through and you are given a project and you are asked to adopt one village. And in that village, the goal which is given to you is that you have to make all the women economically self-sufficient. You should work on that. What will be your plan and how will you implement that?
Ma'am, to make women economically independent, I will adopt the self-help group approach, which has been very successful in states like Kerala through Kutumbashri. So I would try to replicate that model. Secondly, I would try to give them finances through schemes like Mudra scheme, and also hand-holding and mentoring and guiding in the entrepreneurial sector. So that they can become economically self-sufficient, like the Lijjat Papad success that we have seen in the past. So those models can be adopted. Skill training, entrepreneurial training, I think these are the future of